Walk through Japan, and you'll notice something strange. People in their 80s and 90s walking confidently with no walkers. While Western seniors struggle, it's not genetics, it's daily habits. And today, I'll show you exactly how to copy them. Walk through a neighborhood in Japan, and you'll see something that almost doesn't seem real. At least not if you believe what aging is supposed to look like. You might spot an 85-year-old climbing a staircase without holding onto anything. A 93-year-old walking to the market with perfectly upright posture, or a 100-year-old who has never touched a walker in their life. Now compare that with the United States, where nearly half of adults over 75 rely on mobility aids just to move around their homes. Here is what no one's saying out loud. It is not genetics that is the difference. It is habits, and many of the small but powerful habits that keep Japanese elders mobile, confident, and independent have quietly disappeared from American life. You've seen exercise videos before. This is not that. It is about a rediscovery, 5 daily movements, hiding in plain sight, keeping your joints young, muscles responsive, and balance sharp, all without ever stepping foot in the gym. None of these are stretches nor workouts. They are simple lifestyle rituals deeply ingrained into Japanese culture, with a scientific basis that is usually overlooked by Western medicine. Now, over the course of the next few minutes, you are going to learn exactly what those habits are, and more importantly, why they work so effortlessly. Before we dive in, tell me in the comments where you are watching from. I'd love to know where your journey starts. Let's start with the first habit, one which the Japanese have done every morning since 1928. Most of us assume morning stiffness is just aging. You wake up and your joints are tight, your back is stubborn, and you are low on energy, so you shuffle into the kitchen, pour a cup of coffee, sit down, and wait for things to loosen up. But when you ignore stiffness, it doesn't go away. It adds up every morning. You avoid meaningful movement, your nervous system stays sleepy, your joint fluid thickens, and your muscles forget their job. As time goes on, you move less, and when you do, it is with less confidence until getting down to the floor becomes impossible or terrifying. Japanese elders do something far smarter. It isn't exercise, it isn't yoga, it is a full-body neurological reset called radio taiso, practiced by millions every morning, not to burn calories, but to reactivate every joint, every stabilizer, every balance system within the first 15 minutes of waking up. This ritual doesn't just wake the body, it recalibrates it. Think of it as restarting your phone. So all the apps work again, only this reset is for your spine, hips, knees, and proprioceptors. Studies from Tokyo Metropolitan University show that people who perform daily morning joint movement experience 37% less stiffness throughout the day, even into their 80s and 90s. And the best part, you don't have to follow a Japanese broadcast. You don't need a class. You can do a simplified version in your pajamas right in your living room. You can go from foggy and stiff to awake and mobile in less than 5 minutes. No gym, no trainer, just a few intentional movements that tell your body, today we move with purpose. Let me ask you a question. When's the last time you woke up and actually felt ready to move? Imagine feeling that every morning. Now let's discuss something a lot more important than stretching. The daily movement that predicts independence, dignity, and longevity, getting up from the floor. It is uncomfortable to ask, but here it is. If you fell right now, could you get up without help? Most Americans over 65 can't. Not because they're weak, but because modern life quietly removed the one movement humans relied on for strength for thousands of years. It never disappeared in Japan. Their homes, their customs, their lifestyle require frequent floor to standing transitions. Low tables, futons, tatami mats, tea ceremonies. Living needs dozens of these transitions a day, and this trains something more valuable than any gym machine. The neurological sequence your brain uses to coordinate glutes, quads, core, hips, and ankle stabilizers in perfect order. This is the reflex that helps you recover from a fall, People rarely talk about this, but the ability to rise from the floor without using your hands is one of the strongest predictors of independence. According to a 2012 Brazilian street UTI, those who could do it had an 83% lower mortality rate over 6 years. Not because the movement itself is magic, but because it reflects your brain's ability to control your body when life becomes unpredictable. In the West, we sit in chairs, sleep in tall beds, use elevated toilets. We engineered away all challenge and lost the exact strength needed to stay free. This is not about furniture. It is about reminding your body what resilience feels like. Next up, we'll learn about how the Japanese walk and why each step they take silently protects their joints. But first, ask yourself, when was the last time you got down onto the floor and stood up again just to prove you still could? Let's now uncover the third habit, one that turns the apparently innocuous act of walking into either a longevity tool or a joint damaging hazard depending on how you do it. You've been told your whole life, just walk more. But what if the way you walk matters more than how far you walk? Most Americans walk with long strides, heavy heel strikes, and forward-leaning posture. It feels efficient, but every heel slam sends shock waves up the leg, into your ankles, knees, hips, and lower back. Stanford researchers found that heel striking produces forces 2 to 3 times your body weight. With every step, multiply that by 8,000 steps a day, and you can see the problem. Japanese elders walk differently. Their steps are shorter, softer. They land on the midfoot instead of the heel. Their posture stays upright, and their core is gently engaged. It isn't a fashion trend. It is a system honed over centuries from walking in wooden sandals that made heel striking almost impossible. Biomechanical studies show this walking style reduces joint impact by 32%, while activating 47% more stabilizer muscles. That is not just joint protection. That is full body balance training built into every step. And here is the shocking part. Many Americans develop poor walking mechanics, not because of injury, but because of their shoes, thick soles, built-up arches, elevated heels. We've turned our feet from sensors into passengers. They can't feel the ground. They can't respond to it. Japanese-style walking retrains your entire kinetic chain, from the tiny muscles in your feet all the way to the balance centers in your brain. It is not about walking faster. It is about walking smarter in a way that protects the joints that keep you independent. So next time you take a step, ask yourself, are you pounding the ground or are you moving with intention? And if this has made you reconsider how you walk, let me know in the comments. Your knees will absolutely thank you. Now let's open the door to one of the most overlooked habits, hip mobility. You can lose nearly half of your hip mobility over the years and never even notice it is happening. Then one day it is too late. That is the cruel part. Your hips are ball and socket joints designed for multi-directional movement. But modern Western living keeps them locked at a rigid 90 degrees nearly all day. Breakfast, 90 degrees. Driving, 90 degrees. Television, 90 degrees. Repeat that for a few decades and suddenly squatting hurts. Tying your shoes feels impossible and balance becomes shaky. Doctors call it adaptive shortening, your body reshaping itself around limited movement. But in Japan, that loss rarely happens, and the reason is beautifully simple. Its culture designs mobility into daily life. Sitting on the floor opens the hips. Kneeling promotes deep knee and ankle flexion. Even climbing up from a futon each morning forces a deep squat. These aren't workouts. They're natural, daily rituals that keep joints supple and strong. And here is the part most people never hear. Full hip mobility doesn't just protect your hips. It protects your knees, your spine, your balance, and your ability to move with confidence. When your hips are stiff, your lower back compensates, your knees absorb extra strain, and shifting your weight becomes harder, making falls more likely. A study from the Japanese Orthopedic Association found that elders who kept full hip mobility We're 89% less likely to need a walker after age 80. Not because they stretched all day, but because their home environments required fluid, natural movement. In the West, we design comfort. In Japan, they design resilience. Now, let's look at the final habit. One that has nothing to do with exercise and everything to do with how your brain learns to keep you stable. In America, balance training usually begins after someone has fallen. In Japan, balance is naturally trained each and every day, long before the body ever begins to slip. And the secret isn't a balance board or therapy program. It is the environment. Walk into a traditional Japanese home, and you'll see a small raised entry area. The genkan to enter. You step up, balance on one foot, turn, and switch footwear. It looks simple, but neurologically it is pure genius. Every transition forces the brain to respond to shifting angles, uneven steps, and one-leg stances. Without knowing it, Japanese elders run micro-balance drills dozens of times a day. Meanwhile, Western environments are engineered for predictability. Flat floors, identical surfaces, bright lighting, handrails everywhere. It feels safe, but it deprives the brain of the challenges it needs to stay sharp. Balance is not a fixed trait. It is a reflex that deteriorates when the brain stops encountering complexity. That is why 70% of Americans over 75 report balance problems, while Japanese elders continue navigating temple paths filled with uneven stones. And they do it confidently. Research from Kyoto University found that elders who walked regularly on varied terrain had 43% better balance recovery when they stumbled, not because they trained harder, but because their environment trained their brains for them. So now the question becomes, are you training your stability or avoiding it entirely? And the beauty is, you can rebuild this at home. You don't need any fancy equipment. Stand on one leg while brushing your teeth. Walk across grass or gravel barefoot. Close your eyes for 10 seconds while standing at the sink. Balance isn't lost with age. It is lost with comfort. And now that you know this, you can reclaim it. So let's talk about where to begin. If these habits feel inspiring but overwhelming, start small. Start where your body needs you most. If you wake up stiff, start with the morning ritual. If getting up from the floor feels impossible, do gentle floor transitions. If your knees hurt when you walk, fix your step mechanics. If your back aches or if your knees feel unstable, your hips need attention. And if you wobble even a little when you are turning, start training your balance environment. You do not have to master all 5 habits. You need to start with just one. Be consistent for 14 days and observe the changes. Mobility is not about doing more. It is about doing what matters. You deserve to move with freedom, not fear. Getting older does not have to mean growing weaker. It means getting wiser about how you move. The Japanese do not age better because of some miracle genes or magical diets. They age better because they never stopped rising from the floor. They never stopped walking with intention. They never stopped moving with awareness. And they never accepted that stiffness, decline, or dependency were natural or inevitable. Now you know what they know, and you can reclaim what many have forgotten. You don't have to change your whole life. You just have to change how you live the small moments, the transitions, the steps, the first minutes of your morning. Pick one habit, just one. Practice it daily for 2 weeks and watch what shifts. Not just in your body, but in your belief about aging. Your body is still listening, and movement is still the language it understands best. If this message moved you, share it with someone you love, someone who deserves to walk through life strong, balanced, and dignified. And before you go, I'd really love to know your name, your age, and where you are watching from. If you want to continue to learn how to stay mobile, strong, and independent as you age, consider subscribing. Your journey isn't ending, it may just be beginning.